No, I'm not doing a video about forests. I'm here in this eucalyptus forest because you can see from the stones behind me that this is an ancient Iron Age castro of northwestern Portugal. This is the Cividade de Afife. Let's explore. The Cividade of Afife is also known as the Cividade of Âncora. It's located in the northwest corner of Portugal in the municipality of Viana do Castelo. The site is located in the forested hills between the towns of Âncora and Afife. This Iron Age settlement is enormous, but it's only partially excavated and not at all well known. Fortunately, we'll have an expert guided visit to explain its construction and to show off some of the unique features of this Cividade. It's a long visit, but please do stick around to the end. I have a special bonus waiting for you. I'm here at the Cividade de Afife with Gonçalo Rodrigues, who's with the organization NAIAA, which is the Archaeological Association of Afife. He's going to show us all about this location. Gonçalo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are here in Cividade de Afife, Âncora, the two names for which the place is known. It's one of the examples of big castros in the northwestern Castro culture. Unfortunately, it's an abandoned place. The last excavations date back from the 1980s. However, we have a lot of important structures here, and let's make a walkthrough and try to show you some of them.
Excellent. Thank you. Before Gonçalo shows us around, let's briefly set the stage. The northwest of Portugal and the Galician area of Spain is home to the Castro culture. This Celtic culture began in the late Bronze Age, around 1000 BC, and lasted until the Roman invasion of Iberia in the 1st century BC. It's distinctive for the many castros or hillforts which were built in the area. Many of these castros were small forts, but some were large villages or even early cities. These larger ones are often called citanias or cividades. Castro comes from the Latin word castrum, meaning castle. Both citania and cividad come from the Latin words civitate, meaning a group of citizens. Castros of any size included a number of stone houses, usually arranged in groups. And these settlements were fortified and protected by one or more enclosing walls. This cividad was first identified in the 1800s by archaeologist Francisco Martínez Sarmiento, and he approached it from the town of Âncora, so he called it the Cividade de Âncora. Since it's also located within the parish of Afife, it's most commonly referred to as the Cividade de Âncora Afife.
Basically, after half a century passed since when Martins Sarmiento has been here, making a kind of walkthrough, and in 1958, a guy from Oxford called Christopher Hawkes came here to make the first the proper excavations, let's call them that way. So what did he do? He dig the trench from that place to here. You can see like a rectangular shape part here, and if we walk until this part, we are over the walls right now. That same trench continued to that place, and you see some houses here, right? The limit of this part, it's like a small between walls neighborhood, is the second lines of walls. So basically, 5 or 6 years after, another guy, a true archaeologist, Abel Viana, came here to the place and decided to expand the trench in the sense that structures were found. Nothing of that you see behind was known in that time. So he wanted to dig further, and what did he found? This neighborhood between walls and those structures right there. So these are drawings by Abel Viana, we are basically here. This is the correct orientation. So now we can see any kind of pavement, but as you see here, we have a familial unit, which means that you have, in this case, 4 houses opening to a central patio with a place with water here. We don't know if they were salinas or something. The problem here is that, do you see that eucalyptus that is fallen there? It destroyed this structure, unfortunately, and it felt like 5 years ago or something. We will go down there in a moment. We have here the inner wall in our left side. It's not really the outer wall, because this is the middle wall in our left hand side, so 10 meters between walls. Further on, they get more distance from each other. And what do we have here? A typical house from those times, a big one. We can come here with those kind of crab arms. I don't know how to say it in English, but basically a circular house here with an opening to a small compartment, which wouldn't be absolutely fully covered, I mean, and with an outer door facing this part here. And you are in this part. There should be another house. If we keep walking this way, we can see this structure here, which is like half a house or something. And if we keep walking this way, this is the paved section. So if we could clean this and arrive at the level at which we were in the 1960s, when this place was excavated, we would see stones paving this place, to which all these houses would open. And as you can see, they are quite big one.
And this was a family structure.
Yes,
they figured.
like a family unit.
Yeah.
We don't really know if like a family with our concept of family lived in these regions, but in these regions, I mean, in these kind of structures, the point is that there is definitely a relation between buildings, and that's why archaeologists call these groups of houses opening to a central patio a familial unit. Let's call it that way. And we have 3 big examples up there in the most recent excavated part. So what you see here is a house with the same pattern as that one. I mean, a round house opening to a small private patio with another opening here to this part. It would be easier to understand the structures back then when they were excavated, but it's still possible to see them. And you see there you can see there the walls.
And is this the inner?
That's the inner wall.
The inner
Yes.
ring of the wall.
That's the inner wall. Basically, what we have here is this. This is the result of the excavations done by Abelvian in the 60s to dig in a wider trench, let's call it like that. And it discovered, it's hard to interpret this because they didn't found a true pavement here, even if around this house there were some stones laid as a pavement. But this is the result of these 2 places are the results of the excavations in the 60s. All that you can see is from the excavations in the 80s, basically. So if you continue to dig to that side, there would absolutely a lot of structures would be found. This is the plan of the resulting structures from the excavations in the 1980s. As you can see here, you have a wall. This would be a paved road. The pavement is still here because they stopped excavating at the level of the pavement. Maybe if this was these excavations were done nowadays, what they would do was to catalog every stone, remove the stones, and keep digging. But that was the option right there, back then. So what do we have here? Is basically 3 family units. We have 2 roads. This one and the other one is harder to understand what it is, where it is. But I will show it. I will show it in some minutes. So is this paved part? It would be like this. So you wouldn't have access to the family units from this road, but you would have access from that road. So basically, what do we have here? Is this family unit opening to this patio. This family unit, so you would access this first one from this part, this second one from this part, and a third one whose access is not known, that is half excavated from that place. So we will obey the true access, the true entry point that would be used back then. So we will walk that way. This is the least preserved one. So even if it's hard to understand it right now, this would be a road here, which is this one, and the entrance to this house would be here, in this part. So we will go inside this family unit as they would do back then. So we would enter the place. As it was quite common back then, there would be a pier in the entrance to have some water. Arriving back here, we would have a secondary door, because now it's hard to understand. But if we could, it's not easy to do. It's easier to see that. You see the spots where the doors were fixed to. This is one of them. So here we are inside the family unit. We have a house here, a round one. We have 2 other circular structures opening to this central patio. It would have been paved in the past. And here we have another one opening this way. This would be part of the central open part until the wall that separated this family unit to the road close to the wall. And here we have another circular shaped house. And as you can see here, with those kind of crab arms, the rounded structure, and part of the crab arm, the other one is destroyed. So this is the first family unit, which is quite destroyed. There's another. In this one, it's harder to see. There's a particular characteristic in this Castro, which is each family unit has a house with how do you say bancos, with places to sit around the walls.
Benches.
With benches, I mean. I will show you in the other one. So we are going out to the same road. This would be another family unit. It's hard to understand it now. So we are following the road until we get to the entrance of another house. And if we clean it a little bit like this, it's quite easy to see. You can try to We are not destroying anything. So here is the entrance, and here are the parts where the door would be fixed. So we are entering the place.
And the door, like the one that's now in Guimarães, would have been a stone or a wood?
It may have been a stone around. The point is that here it would be a wooden wall.
Okay.
Even if you had a stone-made structure around the wall, this is the part where the iron parts of the wooden wall would be fixed.
Okay.
That stone of that group of stones that make the door from Cividade de Âncora, we don't really know from which structure they came because they were at the surface when they started digging here.
Okay.
We don't even know if it came from the upper part here. It may have come from the other part.
Okay.
So we are arriving here. So we have this entrance part. In some places here, it's hard to understand. There is evidence that they would have cattle in this part because they have stones with holes that would be used to with a rope or something to
tether the cattle there.
to tether the cattle here. So we are entering this part, and this is a paved section. It's hard to understand because it has a lot of dirt. So here we have an entrance to another house, and if we come into this house, follow the entrance, we have an oven here. It's hard to understand because a lot of dirt has accumulated since then, but here you have like a square part. We won't be digging around, but which is this part here. And when they excavated this place, they found remains of burned material.
Okay.
So as it happens in a lot of Castro houses, there would be an oven right there.
Okay.
So if we come back to the patio here, we have other houses opening to this place. This would be another one opening here, and this is the only known fountain in the castrum. Unfortunately, it was totally destroyed after the excavations. There are photos of it intact. What would we have here? Because it was discovered with that shape, a dome structure.
Mm-hmm.
But when they removed the land from inside the fountain, they ended the excavations. It was in a perfect shape, but since they didn't consolidate the structure, it collapsed. So it makes us reflect on what should we accept and not as methods of excavation, because yes, we found the place, we took photos of it, but it was destroyed because of our actions as archaeologists, because it lasted for 2,000 years, and 2 or 3 years after the excavations it was destroyed. And it was a type of fountain that is called fonte de mergulho. It means that you have like a dome-like structure over it, and you have to go inside and take the water off. It's a less hygienic way of using water, but we have examples from the 19th century here in Afife of fountains with the exact same shape. And it's hard to see because of these fathoms here, but there is a canalization of water from here going this way. Can you see here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's covered.
Yes.
It would pass here. If we went like down here, you see it going that way. It would continue that way, and there's an opening to the road close to the wall there.
Okay.
And we have a lot of examples of these canalizations here in this castro.
Okay.
So the main house of this family unit is this one. And what we can see here in this diagram are two moments on the evolution of this house. A first one, because it's a deeper one, it would be a common circular house with those crab arms. And then they change it to a half circular and half rectangular house. If we come in here, we can see here can you see the place where the door was fixed?
Yes.
Here? So if we came inside, this was one of the houses with benches around. If we clean a bit this place here and remove the plants, can you see the bench here? So we don't know if it was in the original building or only in its change. but you have a bench all around the house. We don't have written references of that. Sometimes they say it was like the main house where people would get together. We don't really know. So basically, this is one and the most complex family unit. It will be nicer to see it clean with a fountain not destroyed, but that's what we have. Yeah. If you come to this place, you have this wall of a big house here. It would belong to a different family unit. Unfortunately, someone decided to rebuild this house in a quite criticizable way. What are the differences you see here? While there you have blocks of stone which fit quite well together, here they rebuilt the Castro structure as an ordinary wall from a house in a village like Afife, because you have fillings in the units of the stone made with smaller stones and using cement. So this is the saddest part maybe here, because it was reconstructed in those times where they excavated this place, but in a quite criticizable way that should not be admissible from people who work in the field of archaeology. If you come here, we are looking at another house which belongs to the third and only half excavated family unit. And as you can see again, you have the opening facing that direction and you have benches all around the house. And it's true that you find in some castros benches in the inside part of the houses, but it's not common to have one house per family unit with benches around. It's one of the characteristics of this castro. Small squares here with ceramic remains. It would be like ceramic pottery. And inside that, remains of burned material.
Okay.
Not bone material, burned material. We don't really know if it was a burial site. It's quite likely that it was, and it was interpreted as so by the archaeologists back then. We had 5 different compartments here. It was in a direct relation with this family unit, so the interpretation was that this was the burial site of this family unit. And it has a parallel only with 1 or 2 examples in other castros. So even if this family unit is quite destroyed, and even if it was only half excavated, it has a big historical importance because it has one of the very few examples of a burial place in a castro.
Gonçalo has just shown us the small area that's been excavated. He then took me several dozen meters further up the hill to explore some features that are visible but not excavated. The scale of this Cividad is enormous. It covers many hectares and no doubt had hundreds, if not thousands of people living in it.
This is a wall. A wall of a house. You see the inner wall of the castro there? And this is one of the examples of random structures that appear at the surface that which shows the high density of buildings we would have up here. Unfortunately, we are having during the last years a lot of problems with people with metal detectors, which is quite paradoxical in the sense that we know there is basically no metal or metal artifacts found here because of the acidity of the terrain here. And what they actually found is like Coca-Cola cans and stuff, but they still come here with metal detectors. They will dig, and we have basically once or twice per year, we come here in our routine visits to try to understand if there is any problem up here. And we find recent diggings here, and we bet that 99% of chances they won't find anything with value, but the problem is that they destruct structures, and this is one of the consequences of leaving places like this abandoned. It's that it's a bigger temptation for people who want to simply vandalize this to come up here and destroy, which was one of the problems in the 80s. during the excavations, a group of people came here and they destroyed a lot of structures that had been recently exposed.
I want to repeat what Gonçalo just said. When you come and visit a place like this, please leave it as it is. Don't be digging. If you use a metal detector, number one, you're breaking the law. Number two, you're not going to find anything that's old because it will have become decomposed from the acidity of the soil. Leave things the way they are. When you visit sites like this, or any site in Portugal or other countries, leave only your footprints and take away only memories and photographs. Thanks.
The right-hand side, you have a big wall with an inner wall, an inner layer of stones, an outer layer of stones, and the filling part with randomly stones. And here you have a really small wall, which is not an original one. This was maybe put here in the 19th century when they started dividing between people from the village these lands here to plant those pine woods. But if you continue walking this side, what do we have here? We have another original wall with an inner layer of stones, outer layer of stones, and the filling part. And if you come up here, you will notice that we have a rounded structure here and another round structure more or less like that. So this would most likely be an opening, a door, as to say, an entrance to the upper part of the Cividade in an angle of the wall and opening to this part. So the most likely access, or at least one of them, would not be that artificially broken part of the wall from which we came in, but this part here, this would be an actual entrance of the old Castro.
I find it incredible that such an enormous Castro has had so little archaeological attention. Gonçalo certainly brought what has been excavated to life, and I found him an excellent guide. I would strongly recommend any visitors to the area to contact NAIAA in Afife. The volunteers there will be happy to show you around their excellent museum and maybe take you to some of the many interesting sites in the area. You can get contact information for NAIAA and more information about the Cividade, the museum, and other sites on my website, prehistoricportugal.com. Links down below. I promised you a special bonus. Gonçalo showed me some prehistoric rock engravings at the foot of the hill below the Cividade. They're still being investigated, but research indicates that these were begun during the Neolithic period and continued through the Bronze Age and into the Iron Age. An art gallery that was in use and being added to for many thousands of years.
What you have is one of the most widely present motifs of rock engravings, which are concentric circumferences. You have here three, and this is one of the three areas with engravings here. If we come to this place here, it's harder to see it because it has stuff growing over it. So here you have three concentric circumferences. And then with tangent lighting at sunset, it would be possible to see here something that would be a representation of an animal. We don't know which one, but you see the body, you see some kind of feet, it's hard to interpret, and maybe a head, which is also a common motive in rock engravings here. And there are basically three regions. There's another one here. I forgot this one. So there are four at all. What you have here is like two concentric circumferences, and another two here with an outer line. It's quite easier to see at sunset or at night with tangent lighting.
I couldn't go back at dawn to see them in better light, But some excellent photographs are included in the research about these engravings, which is linked on my website, prehistoricportugal.com. I hope you've enjoyed this guided visit to the Cividade de Afife, Âncora. Please leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Was this video too long, or did you appreciate the depth of knowledge that Gonçalo Rodrigues brought to this visit? And as always, please do like and subscribe. In coming videos, I'll be exploring more of the Castro culture and prehistoric rock engravings, as well as other aspects of Portugal's amazing prehistoric heritage. Thanks for watching.